Hey everyone, welcome. It is Michael here with Offshore Citizen. We are here in Bulgaria on this lockdown, and today I'm going to talk to you briefly about the subject of trust protectors and what is their role within a trust, okay? So within a trust, we've had some previous videos where we've discussed that you have settlers, you have beneficiaries, you have a trustee. What's up with a trust protector? And we could also, to a lesser extent, add an investment advisor. So investment advisor is fairly simple. It's the person who manages the investments of the trust. So what you can have is you can have restrictions on the powers of the trustee. Maybe you say, hey, look, I trust you be the trustee, but I don't trust you to make the right decisions about investments. So we're going to appoint an investment advisor, and they can make decisions on behalf of the trust about how the trust assets get invested. So this would be a common thing if you have, say, some sort of an expert or some sort of an investment manager or whatever it is who you believe has a great ability in that respect. And you could do this where you could split the powers, where you could say, okay, the trustee makes a decision, but it has to be approved by an investment advisor or something like that, okay? What about the protector? Well, the idea of the protector is to provide a safeguard, a check on the trustee, okay? In other words, you don't want the trustee abusing their powers in a discretionary trust, or I mean in any trust at all, but a discretionary trust in particular. So what are some ways that might happen? Well, for one, they might be billing the trust for a bunch of fees that are not appropriate. So this tells us immediately what's the first role of the trust protector is to replace the trustee in case something goes wrong. So they're acting as this safeguard. And this role could be assigned in various different degrees. So we're saying in this particular place, we're assuming that the protector is a separate person aside from those. However, you could give the power to replace the trustee to a settler, to a beneficiary, etc. It's just that for certain reasons where you're talking about, say, an asset protection trust, you might not want to do that because you don't want to be in a position where, as an example, say the settler or the beneficiary is being sued, and the court can force you to replace the trustee with one that's going to favor the court, and then as a result, there's this negative process in there. The next thing, kind of the only other thing I would say that comes in for the protector, in my opinion, is that you would have them veto various different distributions or actions, okay? So here's kind of the idea. The idea is you want to be very careful for tax reasons typically, but potentially for some other reasons, not to have the protector be the trustee. So we need to remember that very often in law, they go with form over substance, or sorry, substance over form, right? Substance over form. And so if the substance, you can say, hey, this person's just a trustee, and this person here is just a protector. But if you give the protector the powers of the trustee, then a court is likely to rule that really, in effect, that protector is the trustee or is a trustee, and therefore they can act accordingly. Same thing if you were to say, okay, I'm giving up my powers on paper, say as a settler, but in practice, I'm exercising those powers. Well, then the court can say, hey, really, you're not, you're free to do whatever you want, and so no, we're not going to go with that. So it is very important that there's a genuine arrangement, and that this genuine arrangement involves the trustee legitimately having their power, legitimately having their discretion to the extent that that's stipulated within the trust deed, and then likewise the protector is limited in their powers not to actually be the trustee, not to manage the trust assets, etc. That's not their job. Their job is to protect the trust really from the trustee, although potentially from some other liability. So we mentioned, okay, they could remove the trustee. Number two, they could veto, say, distributions, because they could say, oh, hey, look, the trustee is abusing their power and making distributions that shouldn't be made within the spirit of the trust, and so you may need that approval, right? So note that the trustee in that case does not initiate transactions. They do not have that power, but they can veto them if they're in violation of the terms of the trust. The other thing that sometimes happens, and this is kind of what we've been doing a lot more frequently, is you'll have kind of a self-settled trust, and it's a situation where you'll have the settler may retain certain powers where you have what's called a directed trust. Okay, so directed trust basically means that the settler is acting to direct actions, but they have to be approved by the trustee. Then what will happen is you go into a dispute period, and I'll do a video on this later about terms of asset protection trusts that might be common, etc. But you go into a dispute period. When you have a dispute period, the settler ends up losing their powers during that time. They're taken over by the trustee. And whereas normally the settler could replace the trustee, now only the protector can replace the trustee. So this is almost like a protector that comes in specific situations, not in all situations, and that can be useful. So anyway, that's kind of the 3 scenarios I would mention for a protector. I would recommend not expanding it beyond that. So number 1, can replace the trustee. Number 2, can veto transactions potentially. And number 3, maybe they don't have those powers, but in the event that there's a dispute period and the settler is going to not have their power because of that dispute, then the protector steps in and then the protector has those roles. So that's kind of your three scenarios for protectors. So I hope that's helpful. If you have questions about trust, you want assistance with setting it up or knowing where to set it up or how to set it up, reviewing a trust deed or something like that, please reach out to us. Check us out on offshorecitizen.net, offshorecapitalist.com. If you like the video, please subscribe, like the video. It's helpful for us, and we will see you guys on the next video.